Unless you've been living under a rock, you should know that Minecraft 1.17 update released recently. But I have been playing it on the snapshots for a little while, so I wanted to change it up a bit. That's why today I have installed a mod pack called Stay True, in which it takes the 17 update to the extreme and makes all of the caves, the nether, and the end something truly special. All of the buildings are reworked, villagers, mobs, dungeons, everything. I hope you enjoy this video. But before we get into the gameplay, I'll keep this quick. These videos take a ton of time to make, so please be sure to hit the subscribe button, and if we hit 1K likes, I will release another 100 days. Got some super cool plans for it, so be sure to hit the like button. Now that that's over, it's time to show off this amazing world. Day 1 starts where all of these do, with just gathering some resources. There isn't anything special about the resource gathering process, as the goal of this mod pack is to stay within the lines of a traditional Minecraft experience. So we grab wood, make some stone tools, grab some pigs, and some coal before finding our first addition to the world, a battle tower. A lot of mods add these type of dungeons, but this mod pack keeps it simple by only using monsters from traditional Minecraft. So I figured it wouldn't be too difficult, and it would give us some nice starting loot, so I went ahead and started fighting my way through. First layer was skeletons, so I broke the spawner, looted the chest, which luckily had a golden apple in it. That would be very helpful for some early game protection. And there was a spider and skeleton again, nothing too crazy, but on the final layer there was a vex spawner, which I broke as fast as I could. I looted the chests in there and crafted some wool out of the string I had collected, and made a bed before sleeping the night away at the top of the tower. Now, on day 2, I continued exploring looking for some other cool stuff. Nothing really significant except for some custom ruined portals made out of bone blocks and soul sand that floated above the air. I pillared up and opened the chest to find some pretty nice boots that I went ahead and put on. The next one I found only had some iron in it, nothing too special, but it was definitely helpful for the early game as I haven't even entered a cave yet. On day 3, I encountered another battle tower which I went ahead and took on. Crafted up some full iron before heading in just to make sure I was safe, broke the spawners, looted the chests. I found 2 Aether Dragon eggs, which would come insanely in handy down the line, so having a dragon that I could ride could basically negate the need for an elytra completely. So I pocketed the 2 eggs and continued up the tower. There wasn't really much else of note in this tower, so I grabbed the gold at the top and headed back down to the village nearby. At least I thought it was a village until I started getting attacked by pillagers. There were plenty of chests with iron, gold, iron tools, and even diamonds. This was an even a better advancement, plus there were tons of chests. I suppose this was a pillager's storage outpost. So, on day 4, I looted everything I could, consolidated it into one chest before upgrading to a diamond sword and a diamond shield. Then, I just continued on exploring. There's a mushroom biome right next to the outpost that I definitely wanted to check out. Mushroom biomes are normally pretty rare. Honestly, there wasn't too much in there, so I just continued onward and actually found a real village in a dark oak forest not too far away from the pillager outpost. So, on day 5, I ran around and looted the village, grabbing plenty of resources from the chests. There were also some weird ruins nearby that I went ahead and checked out. There was some chests in there, and I found a cool map. As I was walking away, I crashed, which I assume was just because of the weird map, as it wasn't titled anything normal. Sure enough, once I started my game back up and threw the map out, I stopped crashing. On day 6, I went into another battle nearby. I also found a map to an underground dungeon, which I followed to find it. I was quite curious to see how the modders adjusted the dungeons, and to my surprise, they looked really cool. Quite simple, but I wasn't expecting them to be much of a challenge. I found some okay loot, but also a map to a snow temple, so I wanted to find that as well. I headed back to the surface and walked for a little while before finding an NPC house. It was just a neutral AI with some full iron and some chests. There wasn't much loot, so I just went ahead and passed. On day 7, I found another battle tower, looted that pretty quickly before continuing to look for the temple before giving up on it. It seemed like it would take way too long, and I was nowhere near being on the map anyways. I found some cool desert ruins next to another bone block portal, and in the chest were some really nice iron boots with depth strider and protection 4, so I went ahead and put those on. Day 8, I was greeted by a gorgeous flower forest with contrasting leaves that really made the world feel brighter. Nothing really happened, I just wanted to share how cool this biome looked. Started heading back to my stuff and get back on day 10, where I consolidate all of my loot before bringing it over to the village to live in instead. Set it all down on day 11, inside of a house, before going down into the caves to start mining. Iron armor was enough for now, but I definitely needed to start upgrading soon, because otherwise I would be bottlenecked by what dungeons I could attempt. So, on day 11, I entered a cave and started mining. Once I got down to the lower levels, the diamonds just started flowing in. There were massive veins of ore. The first one was 15 diamonds on day 12. I ended up getting 29 diamonds just on day 12 alone. On day 13, I found 5 more diamonds and a phenomenal mine shaft. These mods were really starting to piece together the world in such a magnificent fashion. I made half diamond, a pickaxe, grabbed 14 obsidian before heading back up to the surface on day 14. I got lost until day 18, however. I know I always say it's because I forgot to screenshot coordinates, but I figured because I was entering a ravine literally 10 blocks away from a building of the village, it wouldn't be a big deal. Unfortunately, the way the new caves look makes it insanely easy to get lost. Plus the fact that as soon as I reached the surface, there was fog that made it impossible to get my bearings. So I assumed I walked in the wrong direction, and because it took me about an hour to find my way back, even though I couldn't have been more than 100 blocks away from my house. When I get back, I smelt up all of the iron and gold that I've collected. I make an enchantment table and use the books I collected from the village and ruins to make it level 30. I enchant my pick and sword before heading out to explore some more. I got some pretty good enchantments, including looting 3 and efficiency 4, fortune 3 on my pickaxe. Before I do head out, I put down the aether egg and nothing happens. I look into it and it says it needs to be above Y level 170, so I begin making a massive staircase into the sky. Once at the Y level, I place it down and nothing happened either. It wasn't a complete waste of time, however, because I did get a very good vantage point of the surrounding area before heading back down. It seemed the egg just needed to sit after I placed it down for a little while, so I right-clicked and left while I did some exploring. I went to look at what I had seen from the top of my staircase. I found a witch hut with nothing in it, not even a witch. Next, I found a broken nether portal with nothing special. I explored a little further to find a massive castle. This place was huge and looked so complex from the outside, I can't even imagine the inside. There were tons of pillagers spawning outside, so I hopped up into the trees and began looting the chests on the outside of the castle to avoid going in. The pillagers were especially strong, and I saw ravagers and evokers on the inside, so I definitely didn't want to bother going inside. Instead, I took what I had found already and headed back to my base, before making another portal, lighting it, and hopping through. On day 22, I entered the nether and dug around looking for the surface, as I had spawned underground. After digging for a little while, I reached the surface, where I was greeted with another star shrine. It seemed to be a place where I could spawn and battle a boss, perhaps. That'll have to be saved for 200 days, so be sure to hit the like button to see what happens, because this looks really cool. On day 23, I found another fortress not too far away, so I ran around in there looking for blaze spawner. I found one and killed a bunch of them, and apparently the spawner also spawns armored blazes that shoot a ton of fireballs at once. Fortunately, with a diamond shield, most everything was blocked, but they were still insanely hard to fight, as they could pull their shields in and ignore all damage. But after collecting about 16 blaze rods, I decided to be on my way, as I definitely didn't need any more. I wanted to continue to explore the nether, as I know there can be some super cool buildings in there, so I ran off. The terrain is definitely much more difficult to traverse compared to normal Minecraft terrain. On day 25, I found a piglin village floating above a massive lava pool. One thing about the lava in this pack that I don't really know what to say about is that the lava's white, and it's definitely made it interesting as I've almost fallen in multiple times, but I really don't know how to change it. Anyways, there were blacksmiths and other buildings that I made sure to loot, but only to get some gold, iron, and diamonds, which weren't too big of a deal anymore. I continued running around, and after 11 days of searching through the nether, I found a massive nuclear reactor made of blackstone that seemed to span the entire floor to the roof of the nether. I climbed up to the top, peered over to find a gas that I popped shots at before looting the barrel in the middle. It had a fancy radiation shield that would emit radiation damage every time I blocked damage. I equipped it for a little while, but honestly didn't find it that helpful, so later down the line you'll see me stop using it. I also went to explore the bottom, where there seemed to be a manager's office with a kitted out wither skeleton. Killed him and looted the barrels, where I found my first piece of ancient debris. Next, on day 38, I found another version of the desert temple that I went to loot, but not before a massive red mosquito latched onto the front of me and I killed it. It was really creepy. I even got the achievement Nightmare Fuel. I went into the temple to find a chest in front of an obsidian portal frame, opened it, and found some pretty basic loot. I was checking over it to make sure it was useful before grabbing it, and then it all blew up and almost tossed me into the lava below. I don't know how I didn't see that coming. That's normal for desert temples in the overworld as well. Anyways, day 42. I found this wither skeleton fort where they'd chained up piglins seemingly for bartering. So, of course, I had to let them free. In other words, killed the wither skeletons, took the loot, and forgot about the piglins. After fighting for a little while, I mined the gold blocks in the center and the subpar loot around the bottom. I went up to the top to find a very nice sharp 4 sword. I thought it was another 8 sword, but later on realized it was actually just a stone sword after it lost durability way too quickly. On day 43, I found some basic ruins in another jungle temple. The loot was okay, nothing really to write home about, but I just wanted to show these structures off as it really makes the game something interesting. Next, I found an obsidian tower with a weird lamp at the top that I wanted to check out. So I pillared up, broke the lamp, and found a blaze spawner in a chest below. The loot in the chest wasn't too interesting, but as I turned around from looting it, I saw a platform holding a ton of resource blocks in the middle of the lava. So of course I bridged over. There was emerald, diamond, gold, and little did I know that once I broke those, I would find 2 netherite blocks hiding inside. This must be insanely rare. There was a little area to explore down below, but it didn't have too much, so I grabbed the blocks and pillared back out to continue exploring. On day 48, I stumbled across a biome made of quartz blocks, and inside were 2 nether castles, defended by tanky blazes that move slowly but hit like a truck. When killed, they drop blaze rods and blaze armor scraps. I didn't know what these were, but they seemed important, so I held on to them. Along with the blaze tank, there were incomplete withers, which hit much harder than regular wither skeletons as they were carrying axes, and little did I know that they were carrying one of the strongest axes in the mod pack. The most interesting thing to find there was a green ore mixed throughout the center tower of the castle. After fighting through the castle and breaking the visible spawners, I mined this ore, tungsten, and headed to the other castle. It was apparent that there were no actual loot chests, but seeing as I hadn't seen this ore anywhere else, it must be pretty important. So I headed straight to the center tower, ignored the spawners, mined all the tungsten I could, and got out of there. There was no point in risking my life. Once I got out, I just walked 100 or so blocks to find a massive coliseum. It didn't seem to have any functional value or loot to take, but it did look really cool. So I left it the way it was and ran off before finding an outpost tower on day 50. It had some basic loot and ores, so considering I was running low on food, I figured that this was just time to head back to the base. I returned to the nether portal on day 54 and went through to find 3 baby aether dragons waiting for me on the other side. I needed fish to tame them, but first I wanted to enchant my gear using the levels I had collected from my exploration, along with smelt up the tungsten ore to see what I could make out of it. I enchanted up a tungsten axe that dropped from the incomplete withers, before making my pants and chestplate into netherite. I decided to wait to make my boots and helmet netherite as I wanted to enchant them at diamond so they'd be easier to combine in case I have to, even though it wouldn't be that big of a deal considering how much netherite we had from the 2 blocks. On day 55, I went back into the nether to mine quartz to enchant some more when I got home. I had enchanted my pickaxe with vein miner, which means all I needed to do was break 1 block and the whole vein of ores would pop. This also works on netherrack and stone and any block, so it makes tunneling super easy. So for quartz mining, all I had to do was just find the quartz, and then it was super easy to mine. But even with this vein miner enchant, it still took a few days to get the levels I needed. This is because with all of the new biomes and structures added into the nether to change it up, traditional nether wastelands are hard to come by, which is the easiest place to find quartz ore. But on day 56, I got a little sidetracked with this weird pipe system dungeon, which contained overpowered blazes, even with a sharpness 4 tungsten axe, which bear in mind does 1 more damage than a netherite axe base damage. It still took 4 to 5 hits to kill one of these blazes. There honestly wasn't any good loot to find, except for the fact that these blazes dropped good enchanted books. Although with a full enchantment table and easy levels from nether quartz, it wasn't that big of a deal. On day 59, I had enough levels and had had enough of the nether entirely. So I headed back to my base. I did a little bit more enchanting, getting my helmet and boots geared up before turning them into golderite. This mod pack has additions to netherite, which means the ingots can be converted into different versions that provide additional stat bonuses. For example, combining 1 netherite ingot with 4 gold ingots gives 1 golderite ingot. You can combine these ingots with armor just as you can combine them with netherite. Full golderite armor gives you increased luck. It's essentially adding looting to your entire body, but since I already had a looting 3 diamond sword, I was going to get extra lucky, which was going to come insanely handy as I needed ender pearls very soon. First, I wanted to officially tame a dragon, so I went to the river nearby to kill salmon and tame it. Although I would not be able to ride the dragon until it was fully grown, being able to keep it in one spot would be very helpful. I dubbed him Gerald, although I never got around to giving him a name tag even though I had like 6. So, meet Gerald. Now it's time to go enderman hunting. I hopped into the nearby cave on day 61 and started killing them. It took about 2 days just to find them. The very lush caves were lit up pretty easily, making it difficult for endermen to spawn. Although, when I did find them, I basically was guaranteed about 2 ender pearls because of the looting 3 in my armor. So I only needed to kill about 5 to 7 endermen. On day 63, I finished grinding pearls and got 15 before heading back up to the surface and back to the base. While waiting for endermen to spawn, I had done a little bit more research into the tungsten. In the crafting menu, I couldn't find tungsten armor, so I assumed it didn't exist. But when I looked on the wiki, I found out that it requires blaze armor scrap. So, seeing as I had plenty extra left over, I crafted up a full set to see how good the armor was. And guess what? Base tungsten armor is better than base netherite armor, and because I didn't need the luck aspect of golderite anymore, I decided to go ahead and switch it up to tungsten armor, although I have prot 4 on all of my netherite armor, so to make it comparable, I'd need to get some more levels. So I went back to the nether to grind some more quartz. It took about 10 days as I had to travel further away from the portal to find another nether wasteland. On day 72, I returned with enough levels to enchant all of my tungsten armor. I enchanted it up on day 73, and then I just sat around waiting for the dragons to grow up. Finally, on day 75, the one I had tamed was fully grown, so I put a saddle on him and decided to go look for the stronghold. I found out very quickly that I shouldn't press left shift while flying, as I almost killed myself right off the bat. Fortunately, I wasn't too high in the sky and ended up landing on a tree. I headed out, and on day 76, the pearl went down into the ground where I began to dig in. This is what I'm saying about vein miner digging tunnels insanely quickly. Like, just look at this. I dropped into the stronghold to find it completely redone. It was absolutely insane. This is what I love the most about this mod pack. It takes simple things that Minecraft has and just upscales. Normally strongholds are dingy and the only things worth of note are the libraries and the actual portal room. But this stronghold was something special. There were grand hallways lined with statues, barracks to house soldiers, massive fountain squares lit by glass chandeliers above. Now this was interesting. While it may be special, oh my lord, it's hard to navigate. Took me 15 to 20 minutes just to find the portal room. It's so easy to get lost. Finally, once I did, on day 77, I placed the Eyes of Ender and hopped through the portal. It was time to fight the dragon. I took down the crystals and started to hit the dragon. I think the mod pack buffed the health of the dragon because despite me having a sharp 4 tungsten axe, it still took so long to drop the dragon's health. Fortunately for me, the fight wasn't actually difficult, just tedious, although it did test my water bucket skills a few times. After killing the dragon, I hopped back through the portal where I spawned next to my own dragon, at the stronghold. I headed back to my base where I dropped off everything I had collected. I figured it was time to explore the end. I did not want to fight the Wither these 100 days, as I was honestly tired of exploring the Nether, and definitely didn't want to grind Wither skeleton skulls. So I headed back to the stronghold. I don't know why I didn't just put a chest in the stronghold, throw my loot in there, and then just continue to explore the end from there, but here we are. I hopped back through the portal, then entered the end gateway. It was time to take advantage of the better end mod that changed up end cities, added new structures, new biomes. It looks absolutely fantastic. Every single biome I entered, I found myself stopping just to look at the trees and the terrain as I was absolutely mystified. I found a dungeon with little to no loot, but I did actually find a room with a bunch of soul sand and 3 wither skulls. So I grabbed those, and maybe we will actually fight the Wither this 100 days. Anyways, after a lot of trekking through different biomes, I finally stumbled across an end city on day 87, and there was no elytra, there was no ship. There was some pretty good gear at the top, but nothing compared to what I already had. So I just went ahead and took a shulker box at the top, filled it with the gear anyways, and went looking for another one. On day 92, I found another end city, but it also didn't have a ship with an elytra. So I did the same as last time, looted the chest, filled a shulker box, and headed out. I was pretty far out, so it took until day 95 to return to the main portal. I decided that I did want to fight the Wither, as I didn't have time to really go look for an elytra, otherwise I wouldn't be able to make it back to my base in time for day 100. So I hopped through the main portal and it spit me back out at my base. I guess I forgot to set my spawn at the stronghold, which is good because I don't have to fly back, but bad because Gerald is stuck at the stronghold. We'll get him in 200 days, don't worry. Anyways, on day 97, I went to the pillager castle from earlier and spawned in the Wither. I thought this was a good idea, like an homage to the triple Wither fight in the mansion from 100 Days Trios. Little did I know that it'd be a lot less interesting and a lot more tedious because of all of the tight corridors of the castle. The floors were also made of wood, so the Wither could blow it up easily. It made it insanely difficult to use a bow, as it kept dropping holes below my feet. And also, I could barely use my axe to fight it, because I couldn't jump high enough to hit it. So, after much difficulty, I reluctantly let it out of the castle to fight atop the dark oak trees. I got a little bit of help from the pillagers, funnily enough. I killed the Wither as 10 or so pillagers were shooting at me on the ground. I grabbed the star, killed the pillagers, and headed back to my base. And that's about it. I didn't do anything else for the last 3 days as I wanted to save all of the cool projects for the next 100 days. So I just waited until it was day 100. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys enjoyed the longer content. And if you did and want to see more, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.